Okay, welcome to another episode of Two Average Joes. Joe St. John and
Robert Joey Baker.
There we are. We're here. Look for another great episode. This is episode three. Three of a series of 6,000 or something like that. I don't know. So it's a good thing. A lot happened this week. Joey, Robert, Baker, what did you think happened this week? What did you see interesting?
Well, there were two issues mainly. I think we posted a short video of me with Marlena Pavlos-Hackney, the famous restaurateur who did 4 or 5 days in the Ingham County Jail for basically slinging food. She was speaking at an event called Reawaken America Tour. That was a 3-day event up in Grand Rapids.
Yeah, that was a big deal. I mean, I seen that. We posted that. Hopefully, one of the things about that, hopefully we'll be able to get a little bit more video on that because all of that stuff is going to remain timely. Then I like that. One of the things is a lot of times when you do that with a live feed, I mean, I think they probably got 18 hours worth of video. And, hopefully one day somebody will scale some of that back and, we can have a little bit of that on there because I think that our loyal fans aren't quite ready for 18 hours. Though it was an exciting thing. I watched much of it. I watched a whole lot of it. And I thought it was great. I think you got a lot of people here in America that are fired up. So give us a little bit more about it. Because I know you were there and you were backstage hobnobbing. Let me know some of the people that were there.
It was fascinating, really, because it was a 3-day event at DeVos Place, which is a 2,500 seat venue, and it's gorgeous. For one, it's the Amway people who own that, and it was a sold out 3-day event. So they had speakers from in the wee hours of the morning until I think it was 5 o'clock almost every day.
Right,
and they were sold out for all 3 days, and they had everybody from Roger Stone.
Yes, I wish I could have seen that.
Yeah, that was, and I'll give you the quote. I think I told you already, but he had the best line of the event. At least why I saw it, and I didn't see much. But yeah, you saw the little clip from Marlena, and
she's a superstar, and that's always very, very interesting. For our people that don't know Marlena, she basically got caught up in the pandemic situation and they took her license, and she Robert is actually her attorney. I thought I'd add that in there. And they decided to arrest her because she was slinging food without a license. So because that is a felonious crime, a biblical proportion, they sent 8 state troopers to go pick her up and put her in jail for 5 days. I'm sure all crime had stopped in Michigan and did it. Now, I'll be honest with you. I think the Michigan State Troopers were put in a bad spot because apparently the Attorney General wanted this woman arrested. The Attorney General of Michigan. And so there you go. There's the world that we live in. Did you find the people there? Because to me, listening to it, I kind of find like the people there, they're positive. They know this is a bad situation, but they seem to be very positive.
They were positive. It was really interesting because I mean, it was fascinating for me because I had never been to an event like this, and it was very patriotic. And I was watching Bill Maher, I think this morning on one of the YouTube things, saying how sappy Republicans are about the patriotism. But then he circled back and said, well, maybe we need some of that patriotism now.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were all patriotic. Marlena got several standing ovations. Michael Flynn was the keynote speaker.
Yes.
And like I said, Roger Stone was a couple before Roger Stone spoke. And Marlena went on, I think, like an hour before. But it was there was, I don't know, you and I have talked about it many times, that there's a movement going on that's not being picked up by the press. Okay. And if they're selling out an event in Grand Rapids, Michigan, of 7,500 people, okay, there were about 30 or 40 booths of different and it was all patriotic stuff, things about
Yes.
how our freedoms are being trampled upon.
Mhm.
I mean, there is a movement that's out there that's not being reported on for sure, and this is part of it. This is a traveling road show. I talked to the guys who were putting it on. But the Marlena and her husband graciously invited me to go to this thing, and
Right.
I was in the back room hobnobbing with all the people who were going to speak because they
I
had
saw the picture there. I was jealous.
right. And Matt DePerno, who I'm on another case with him, he's running for attorney general. He's announced already.
Mhm.
There's everybody who's anybody. There's probably 5 or 6 gubernatorial candidates for the Republican Party that were there. Anybody who's anybody in the conservative Republican establishment was there, and I don't know. It was fascinating. I don't know how to I keep saying that, but
Yeah.
it blew me away. It totally blew me away.
I find it interesting because I'm going to go back to your comment that, it seems like patriotism is like blown off, like, there it is, all sappy. It's all about the flag and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's just, what do you believe in? Because I find this amazing. And it's not really a liberal or a conservative thing, because I've seen it within religion and other things. It's like, those people believe this and they believe that. And it's like, well, what do you believe in? And if I told you what you believed in and fill in the blank, and I told you, I'll be honest, I guess it's kind of sort of being ignorant. Would your feelings be hurt? Like if I was at dinner and I said, wow, it's hard to believe you believe that.
You're right.
Said, believe
right.
that?
I don't know how you cannot get weepy when we know that people are fighting and dying for our country, for our freedom that we are giving. I mean, that was a prevalent thread through every speaker. That and God. Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I do. I find it interesting. It's like, it's like I've always worried about this, and this is kind of goes back to even being as far back as probably high school, is that I always found that atheists wore their pride like it was like a letter of excellence. It was like, I'm an atheist, and I know I don't believe in that. And I would think many times, I'm serious, I had many people do this, and I mean it. And if you're an atheist, I mean no harm to you. Bless your heart. I would have people go, I'm an atheist, and I don't believe in God. And I would sit there and think, that's odd, because I didn't ask you. I find that's really weird that you chose that to share with me. Because once again, I didn't ask you. And even after you told me, I don't care. Weird, isn't it?
right.
I find that sometimes that what's interesting is conservatism can be easily slapped down because people are comfortable with slapping it down. Oh, you're like, whatever, right? Like every time anybody wants to insult me, it's like, that seems like pretty right-wing stuff. Like it does if you're on the left. Because actually, if you're on the right, I'm really not right-wing. You know what I'm trying to say? I mean, if you really are on the right wing, I'm probably closer to a moderate,
Right.
And that's the stuff that I think you get into where you're sitting there talking. I'm watching the videos. I'm watching the live stream from there. And I'm like, there's nothing that these folks are talking about that's crazy stuff. I mean, there's nothing. It's like, okay, regardless of what you think, for 4 years, I heard the Russians, stole the election. Then when Republicans want to, like, why don't we just count these again? Oh, that's horrible. I mean, the next thing you're going to ask for, Joe, is transparency. And that's for crazy people.
Right.
You have to be a conspiracy theorist to believe in transparency,
Well, there was a lot of anger there about the election and how the
Yes.
vote went down. it was prevalent in most of the speeches, and even in the crowd, the biggest standing ovations were related to, let's get the votes counted correctly and legitimately. And the funny thing is that's what the Democratic Party supposedly stands on. But then when the Republicans want to do it, we're anti-patriotic, or it's
conspiracy theory.
It's a conspiracy theory. And it's the big lie. Okay, what's the big lie? I don't understand what they think the big lie is, because we had a 100-year event where you had voters voting by mail and counting votes after. I mean, there was so many irregularities and they say that it was a pristine election. I've heard them say it was a pristine election.
No evidence of any fraud.
Whenever they say no, well, none. You got to go. The hair on the back of your neck should stand up.
Yeah. Every vote counts until it
doesn't. Right.
Every vote counts. Everybody gets a vote. America,
right.
One person, one vote.
And we were texting back and forth during it. I think you and I were, and there was a professor from, I think he was in the University of New Mexico, and his name is David Clements. And I was saying that this guy was one of the best speakers that up to that point. This was before they hit the mainliners, but he had just lost his job for basically speaking out against the hypocrisy of the election and how it went down. I mean, I don't know whether he lost his job, but they had emailed all his students and said, well, he's not going to be teaching there anymore, your classes. And he was one that I had reached out to, the guy who's kind of producing us, and to you, saying maybe that could be our first guest, which I'm hoping we can try to arrange.
If he's not the first, he needs to be one of the first. Because I will tell you this, here's what's interesting, and I think it comes back to election fraud in general, not just this presidential election. The second you tell me, this is for everybody, I want you to listen. The second they tell you there's nothing to worry about, there's something to worry about.
Big time. Big time. And then whenever the government names a bill or a law, something, you can pretty much guarantee whatever they're naming it, they're taking that away from us.
Yeah, that's it. It's like the Patriot Act.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there it is. There's nothing patriotic about the Patriot Act, okay?
No.
As a matter of fact, we're going to rue the day. We're going to rue the day we said that was okay. Because basically they can hold you indefinitely just because they think maybe you're a terrorist. Right. One of the other interesting things is a lot of them were talking about big tech. And I think that big tech's a big deal. Because as you and I try to grow this program, and I know we have our supporters and stuff, but it's not like you can actually, I did a bunch of things years ago with websites and papers and everything, and I don't want to bore any people with the past, but it was an expensive endeavor, don't get me wrong, but it was like, here's your platform, and here's your platform. And it kind of just went that way. And now we're sitting here going, okay, I'm on 4 platforms. I got another one. I got one in the background in case this one goes off, right? And I'm like, that's the world we live in. That's the big tech world that we live in. That I've actually I'm going to have to, and I have, we're on BitChute and we're on Rumble and we're on YouTube, and we're getting ready to go totally into the podcast, and we're going to try to get on all of them, but there's no, let's get on one thing, and that's a big difference. I think people don't realize that about big tech if you weren't trying to do a program. Literally 7 years ago, if you said, hey, I'm on YouTube. No, yeah, that's great. That's all you need. Got a Facebook page. That's all you need. Okay. Now it's like, well, let me get on Twitter and hopefully we won't get thrown off. And let's do YouTube, but let's hope they don't, just kill my videos, And so let's get on BitChute and let's get on Rumble and we're there, and I want us to be there. Does it increase our work? Sure, it does. But you know what? It's just kind of the price that we pay, and we want to do some good things. And I heard a lot of undercurrent about the worry about big tech, and I think that is going to be a universal kind of thing that we talk about. Now, what did Roger Stone say? What was it? What were your favorite?
Oh, his great line was, so he has a tattoo, evidently. He worked for Richard Nixon long ago and far away. I think that might have been one of his first political jobs.
No, but I think that's what sealed his deal of being a big timer.
Yeah. So anyway, he has a tattoo on his back of Richard Nixon. So he says, I'm probably the only guy with a dick on the front and a dick in the back, on the back.
I thought it was an intro.
I thought that was a great line, probably unforgettable, One, putting a tattoo of Richard Nixon on your back.
When he said that, I was like, I don't know. Well, they laughed.
They fell out in the aisles on that one. That was a great line.
I could have went wrong, but it was funny. It was funny. I think Roger Stone is a good example of just where you don't want us to become a police state. You know, you can sit there and go, oh, he did something to get arrested. Yeah, but they told CNN that they were going to go arrest him so they could be outside his house.
Right.
I mean, and if you live in America, you're okay with that.
We're in big trouble when they start raiding lawyers' offices in their homes, and they've done two of Trump's, at least two, you know.
I think that one of the things in the double back here on Grand Rapids and why I'm very impressed with it, and I think there's going to be other things, and I'm going to end the show talking more about it, so I don't want to go on it right now.
Yeah.
There is an element of you're not getting any of the news. All you're getting is a whole lot of opinion, and they're basically spinning the same information. And so stuff that happened in Grand Rapids where there was a diverse crowd, diverse speakers. Okay. There was a lot of different groups from a lot of different places. But what was common is they believe in America. They believe in God.
Yep.
And they believe that this nation should be a nation of laws that don't pick out people and go after them, you know? Right. And nobody's interested in that. I think if you can be victimized in this country, and if you meet the criteria of what they want to be a victim today, which could change tomorrow. So I don't even want to date this video and say, well, to be a victim, you got to be this, because 3 months from now, it may be a different narrative.
Right.
They just get to pick out the victim and tell you who's the victims and who's the criminals, and if you don't fall into that, you know, situation, you're not important. Yeah, so I think there is some stuff like that. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, to circle back to your tech, the fear of tech. Tech is censoring everything. So,
yes,
you know, you and I have tried to figure out how to be uncancelable, if that's even a word, because we know if in order to talk sincerely about the issues that are facing our nation, we are going to be canceled. I mean, by tech, if we haven't already, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like we're not today. We're 3 episodes deep, so let's not get out.
Right. Well, and we've kind of been not walking on eggshells, but we haven't really got balls deep into this.
I think that we haven't gotten to anything where I think we could get canceled, but here's kind of a weird thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you and I are off on this tangent of, you know, Bigfoot and aliens and everything. So I'm not saying they're not real.
I'm not saying some of it's a little shaky.
You know, but I think eventually you'll just cross that bridge. And I don't think it has to be a bridge where here's what worries me. I never worry about you and me saying something horrible about people.
Right.
I don't ever see you and me stereotyping and saying horrible things about people.
Right.
You know, this group of people are horrible people. It's not going to happen because it's not within your and my nature.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But I do see one day going, you know, we're on our 37th dose of vaccination. And they said I need 12 more. That would be a cancelable offense. You know what I'm saying?
It's gonna be.
You're not talking about, you know, I can't get on this program and you can't go, these are the people we hate. They're causing this country. I don't think you and I have it. We don't talk like that when we're in private.
You're right.
Okay, so it's not going to show up here. So you sit there and go, well, you know, we should be safe. But no, I'm not so sure that 3 months from now, when, you know, we're on our 47th dose of, you know, whatever the vaccine needs, right?
Right.
That won't be canceled. You know, that you just get canceled. Or saying, as we get ready to segue out here and talk about Afghanistan, that talking bad about Joe Biden couldn't be canceled, even if what you said was true.
True.
We will segue now into what was the most interesting press conference I have seen.
Right. Well, that was what I was going to say is, how does Biden get canceled when he's incoherent most of the time?
And you know what's interesting? They go, he said, he read. See, here's where I go crazy. Here's what I heard on the news. Joe Biden said, Joe Biden didn't say anything. But look at what Joe Biden read.
Right.
It's one word. Isn't it weird?
It was well written.
One word, and it changes everything.
Right.
Joe Biden didn't say anything. But
Right.
Joe Biden read some stuff poorly, very poorly. Okay. I would be interesting if there was fact checkers, and I would have been interesting if there had been honest people reviewing it. He reads stuff. He has never said an honest, off the cuff thing. He practiced that speech poorly, as he delivered it poorly. There is not a sincere bone in his body. Okay. Most of what he was saying was probably not true, and I know that because his lips were moving. Okay. I don't want to call the guy a liar, but he probably is, right? And it's amazing that even in some conservative circles, nobody said, well, that was a nicely read speech.
Yeah.
He read that almost as if he was literate. Okay. He didn't say anything. And I think that this weird free pass of you being able to read and nobody say anything, I find it absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Here was the more interesting thing is there were several questions that didn't get asked or answered. One is, what's the speed requirement of getting the heck out of Afghanistan after we've been there for 20 years or however long we've been in there, right? And the other thing, I checked Reuters this morning, there hadn't been a military death in Afghanistan, United States wise, since February of 2020. So that's about what, 18 months ish?
Yeah.
So what is the speed to get the hell out of there, right? And then secondarily is as the country is collapsing around our withdrawal,
right?
Why did they not say, I don't think I'm going to leave a multi-million-dollar Apache helicopter for the Taliban to tool around in?
Yes. That was
those are questions that I've never heard asked or answered, and I don't understand why. If we have a media, whatever the hell that is, media, why isn't that being answered? Why do you think that is, Joe?
I think because he gets the free pass of all.
Well, we know that, but
look, when you can fall up the stairs 3 times,
and
nobody, he slipped. I saw it with my own 2 blind eyes.
Right.
Like, no, he didn't. He fell down and he couldn't get back up, and there's nothing wrong with him that they'll admit. I do believe that the covering for him, like it's kind of a catch-22 thing. I mean, we had talked about it before we went on air, where I said, there's a lot of things that we're dealing with that are kind of like dual-edged swords. One is, I think everybody in America was ready for us to get out of there.
No doubt. I think it's a decision that had to be made.
Yeah, but the way that we delivered this in this last week couldn't have been more horrible.
What a fiasco, man. I mean, a fiasco on every level.
And then you have a tragedy where you have our service members killed, and he comes up and he does an interview that looks like he tried to rehearse it. God bless his soul. Right. When he's asked, and I mean, could you imagine Donald Trump saying, they told me to ask this person first? I mean, like, well, who's in charge of this country, dude? I mean, you're just reading off of a piece of paper. And I think that, and this goes back to mainstream media. When you don't tell people the truth, that you don't say he read that speech pretty well. Whether or not he believes in it, I don't know that. You don't know that. And not to call that out is so bizarre, and then not ask tough questions like, do you think that maybe leaving a bunch of equipment there for the enemy to use was a wise decision?
Did you see the pictures? They have all brand new. They have all our brand new weapons in our hands, and I'm like, well, I don't.
They were dressed in our clothes, mocking us. Right,
and then they say, well, it collapsed quicker than we thought. Well, no, it collapsed exactly the way you thought. Maybe it did a little faster than it did, but after you pull out of a few outlying areas and they collapse, don't you think, hey, maybe we should start removing the equipment or destroying it before we pull back one more layer, right? These are military people. They know what they're doing.
Yes.
So it has to be a political decision somewhere in the higher echelons beyond the scope of what I've ever met, dealt with.
Because here's one of the things that happens, and I think it's a interesting concept. I believe you and me are two average Joes, and I also believe that we're pretty regular. In other words, I think we have regular knowledge, regular experiences. Fortunately, between you being a lawyer, you being in the military for a few years, me being in law enforcement for the length of time that I have been in, dealing with some of the things I've done, and in my short memory, of being able to talk about my media experience, we can sit there and we probably have a broader base than most people. Just the fact that you were in the military and you went through all of the stuff that you had to do that, and all of the training, that puts you in a position most people are not in.
Right.
It's like when you talk about social justice and stuff. Look, as a police officer, 30 years, I know what we're trying to do as a police. Don't mean that we do it all the time or we even do it well all the time, but I know what we're attempting to do. Okay.
Right.
So I do think that gives us an advantage, but I also believe we're still, we're not in the loop. I mean,
No,
we're
we
still
don't.
trying to figure it out. We might have a little bit more information, but not a lot. I think you've learned, and I'm not trying to speak for you, but I think that through our conversations, just doing Marlena's case and meeting these other people and seeing things that are going on. I mean, you're like, when did this happen?
Yeah. I don't know how the families of the people who were lost and injured I don't know how they could possibly feel about this, the decision making at the top or whatever level it's being made at.
Right.
It's just a tragedy that I think it could have been averted. I mean, I don't know if you can ever stop terrorism because they've done it here in the States, domestically and otherwise. But yeah, it just seems like there was no plan or no decent plan,
Right. I'll tell you another thing, and I'm gonna piggyback on that. I think that there's also, and this is no longer a left or a right position. It's just merely a position. And I think most American, it's their default position. Unless you're really just a homer, like, oh, Joe Biden,
right?
Glad he's president. Unless you're that big of a homer, I mean, most people are not really believing that people are telling the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't think the government's telling the truth. They literally don't think that America's telling the truth. And that breaks my heart, but it's also that weird thing, and go back to whether it's a vaccination or it's Afghanistan, it's big tech. There's not a lot of people that have anybody believing they're being honest. Right. I think that if you talk to just a regular American person, they don't believe the government. They don't believe media. They don't believe any of that stuff. And I literally think that it's one of the reasons our show can exist and we can move forward. And we'll talk a little bit more about that with the help we need for that. And working on getting some guests and doing some things and editorializing. And at the risk of being incredibly rude, I mean, I'm not going to be apologetic. I do not think it was a great press conference. I understand the tragedy, and there will be people who go, you shouldn't politicize the tragedy. And I said, well, they already did it when they had this BS press conference. Okay. Right. I'm only commenting on their silliness, not idiot. I'm not picking on nobody.
Right. But don't you believe, I mean, I forget who said it, but they say that history does not repeat itself, but it rhymes. And this surely smacked of Hanoi.
Yeah. And anybody I agree. And anybody that thinks that this is going away, they're still doing documentaries on Hanoi.
Exactly.
So they're not, give me your opinion on something here. And it's just going back to Grand Rapids and Afghanistan had not fallen apart the way it did, and we didn't have servicemen die.
Yeah.
Your opinion, didn't you kind of get the feeling that everybody there kind of knew something bad was going to happen?
Yeah, it was pervasive. They know that, America is burning. From the inside out, we are damaging ourselves in epic freaking ways. And they're there supporting. I mean, they had every 15 minutes, they had a new speaker. So I don't know how many speakers they had, but it was probably 100 or more. And,
right.
They were the seats were packed most of the time, other than when they were intermission or, going around.
And I will guarantee you, if they sold every ticket for 3 days. If they were not in their seat, they were at a booth or with somebody discussing this.
Exactly. Yeah, the place was packed. Was packed.
And I think that one of the things, and I asked that question because I wanted to give a sincere opinion on something, or my sincere outlook on it. I think it's very easy if you watch the media to think that the big stories are these.
Yeah.
These are the big stories of the day. But I don't know if they're actually the big stories of the day. I think when you go to Grand Rapids or you talk to people at the grocery store, or you're sitting there in the restaurant, they're like, I don't mind change. I don't mind that the country grows. I don't mind that there isn't some moral changes and stuff. It's like, we're actually on fire.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to get on the news channel. And I think that maybe Tucker Carlson's the best.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe he's the best, but even, Fox, I don't think they're going to get on there and go, today, most Americans think this place is burning from the inside out.
Right.
They looking at this and they think, because I think that one of the weird things, and I hope I say this right, because I don't want to be like I'm so pro Donald that, I didn't think he didn't do every now and then some interesting stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you were interested that he did mean tweets. What does the world think about us when that is our president? Do you think the world is judging us? He has got mean tweets. And I'm like, hey, what do you think the world thinks of us when we leave our helicopters for the enemy?
There we go.
I'll tell you what. I know that the enemy now got to all of our equipment and they're going to probably kill people with it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably had some secret stuff on it. We'll let them know. But you know what I like, Robert? No one was mean when they tweeted. Yeah. Like, what sort of moron thinks like that? I don't know. A lot of people voted for this circus clown. Okay?
You've always said it, and you're totally 100% correct. All politics is local. So This is what I see and I feel and I know as a practicing lawyer in Allegan, Michigan, is our constitutional rights are being violated every day. Our police are losing their authority because they're losing respect from the citizenry that always supported them.
Yes.
That the very fiber of our nation is tearing not. I mean, it's been tearing for a long time, but this is different.
Yes.
We had back in Vietnam, kids getting shot at a college campus. I mean, we've been through, I don't know whether it's growing pains or just pains. And we have been getting better and better and better, like you said, that your police force that you had was more diverse than ever. And now they're the most hated or the least respected. And how did we get here? And that's why you and I talk. And that's why I hope we can continue and we can get support from everybody. And I hope we're not canceled because we're going to say the shit that ain't going to get said. I can tell you that until we can't anymore.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I find that to be amazing. And I appreciate you saying that. I said, the police have never been beaten up and beat down like this. I'm like, I go and teach at the academy and I go, we have never been more diverse in our entire existence of the American Police Department. Right. We have never been more educated. We have never got a broader group of people, and yet they still hate us. And that's weird. And, and don't get me wrong, we will never defend the indefensible.
Right. You can't.
When we know a police officer to do a bad job, we want them fired. We're not here to defend the indefensible.
Right.
But at the same time, they're trying to do a job and they're just getting beat down and it's just horrible. And I want to kind of end it on this one, Robert. And I think we'll kind of end it on this one.
Sure.
And that is, we're going to need people's support.
No doubt.
One of the interesting things is that with the internet and with doing things on social media platforms, or even doing things we're working, like I said, we have Twitter, and all of our little links will be in the down below. I'm not going to bore you with what they are, but we have Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on BitChute, we're on Rumble, we're getting ready to do our podcast, we're on Apple Music, we're Spotify, we're doing all of this stuff. And one of the things that's interesting is that, there was a day all you do is throw up your website, right? And, maybe do one little thing on YouTube. that doesn't exist anymore, and that will never exist again. So here in the next couple of weeks, as we get ready to set this up and we move for bigger and broader, we are going to ask for our supporters to help us out. We're going to need some donations. We're going to need to do some stuff, and we need to be able to pay, and this isn't about, Joe and Joe here and us sitting around passing the plate just for ourselves. It's not that at all. And I don't want to give that. But if you are interested in free media, if the people out here that watch us and other shows and go to these other locations that do not have budgets, that do not have the big sponsors, that do not have corporate America propping them up, if you want free and independent media, you're going to have to support us. And you don't have to give us $1 million, but if you're watching our show or you're reading our website or you just want to support us, but you're going to have to help us out. I mean, it's not a matter of saying it any different. And I hope that people that hear this and when I write about it will understand it. It's not about you paying for this service. I do not hope ever that, we get so bogged up in government and corporate bureaucracy that you have to pay to get on YouTube or pay to get on here or pay to get on any other social media platform, that it does stay free. But there does have to be a position where if you're going to use and enjoy and know and be informed by independent media, that's what we are. We are independent media. Don't be offended when we have to ask for some support. It's not like we're trying to, neither you or me ever started this going, hey, we need to make $1 million. We're trying to get information out. But it is getting more complicated by the day, and it's getting a little bit labor intensive. And I think that as we grow, I hope our fan base grows, and I hope our fan base grows with us and understand that Two Average Joe is part of a movement, and that is a movement of independent media. It is a opportunity for independent media to function outside of corporate control. We have no corporate control. You and me can say whatever crazy stuff you and me want.
Yeah, and we will.
And we're going to try very hard to be honest and truthful about it. Yes. So as the time progresses and, we have to ask for a little bit of support, whatever you can do for us, do it, because I am going to be honest with you. We're one of a lot of independent media companies, but I will tell you this, and I'm proud to say this. Eventually, it'll be shows like Two Average Joes and the other shows that are out there that's where you're going to have to come to get real news, because what you're going to see on TV is just raging lies.
Yeah.
And, we're going to bring in the guests, and we're going to bring in the people to come and tell you the truth. And I'm going to be honest with you. And I said this, I think, in another podcast and another time when we were talking. Two Average Joes are going to have to go on the road, and we're going to have to be places. That was nice that it was in Grand Rapids and it was close to your home and you could be there. But, Two Average Joes need to be, we're going to eventually, with the support of the people who believe in us, we will be at an event like that for all 3 days, and we will be doing our own show from that location.
Yeah, we need the funding too to up our production game, because we want to do, we wanted to maybe, if not live, very close to live, do commenting on maybe President Biden's speech at the time.
Yes.
And we're going to have, the next steps are we're going to try to get interviews with as important people that will talk to us.
They'll speak to us.
Right. And we want to up our production game, because we'd like to have some, little things across the bottom of the screen and different things, so that it's more informative and where we could, react to different things that are occurring. And it really would have been nice to have a full camera crew up at that event in Grand Rapids, because it was important enough to really report on that. And I didn't see any reporting locally on that at all.
No, they left it alone. That's why we have to, that's why people need to support us, because a camera could go a long way. And look, don't get me wrong, somebody's going, you're gonna do your phone. Look,
that little thing that I did was on my phone,
we got to compete against the big boys.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was worthy of having a camera crew.
It really was.
That was worthy of you and me interviewing people.
Yeah, and it was unique that Marlena let me come along with her because that was backstage. That was totally.
Yeah, that was outstanding. And I am going to share this and share it to everybody. We're going to do that, but we're going to need everybody's support.
Yeah.
And if we don't support independent media in this country, there will be no media.
Yeah.
I cannot emphasize that enough. If we do not support independent media, there will be no media.
And, I'm just a podunky lawyer in a backwater city in Allegheny, Michigan, but there's some important cases that are happening around me that lawyers are being arrested for free speech issues. There are citizenry being beaten by cops for
nothing.
No particular reason. It's just pervasive in our society, and we cannot allow our country to descend down into anarchy.
Right. And I will tell you something, and it's in all of that, what you just said is 100% true. And it's weird because, Allegan, a little itty bitty place, and yet all of this stuff is real, and I think that places are exploding everywhere. And like I said, I want to reiterate it for the 13th time, and you're going to hear about it again. Mm-hmm. For people that want to know and people who need to know, we need to support independent media. Because if you think your local TV station is going to go out there or a national one, you're not. Nobody, I can guarantee you, no media showed up to that.
There was none. There was none in Grand Rapids, I can tell you. At least for the 4 or 5 hours that I was there, I saw no media outlet anywhere, not out front, not inside, not backstage.
Yeah. So look, let me tell you something. Everybody better understand that and keep it in mind. Look, we're going to probably try to up our ante, but for right now, we'll probably be once a week. We're going to work on getting some guests. We're going to bring in there, and we're going to do a little lifestyle stuff, but we'll hold on that. We're
right. I want to get back to that actually,
too, and it's going to be good stuff. So until next time, tell them goodbye.
See you.
That's it. We'll see you. We'll talk to you soon. Everybody have a good day.